which one is this? Here's the review. You guys got it. You guys got the music. Pac-Man World 2 time. Let's talk about it. Good. What do you guys like about this video game? How do I do this again? It's only been like 2 weeks and I already forgot how to edit the screen. All right, there we go. I'm gonna say variety. Lots of like there's a lot of variety. I like that. All the levels feel different. Well, maybe all the control mechanisms for each level feels different. That's good. Yo, you 100% you can contribute to this review, Alex. We are not stingy here. Like, I don't care if you didn't play this video game or anything. Like, you could just show up for the last stream and provide some input if you want. So, Snappy Controls. I do like the moveset a lot. When you say Snappy Controls, are you just like the controls are tight, or is there like something specific that you're looking at for it? My nose is still bothering me. Jeez. Bouncing is fun. I like the moveset, like a cool, weird moveset. Like, I can get behind that for sure. Controls are tight. Okay. I would say, like, yeah, I do think the controls are like pretty. Did I have any problems with the controls? Let me think about this. Camera, absolutely. Controls, I think it was probably like generally pretty good. The ledge grabbing was a little floaty, but like floaty in a way that I think was generally pretty good. So the general moveset is utilized throughout the game. Maybe. I feel like there's like a couple parts where they ask you to do like the run dash, but fun bosses. Yeah, dude. Maybe like tight and distinct moveset. Tight and neat. That'd be cool for now. Tight and cool moveset. Fun bosses. Let me think about the bosses again. So there was the pink ghost. She had the blades, right? Or something like that. I think she like stuck her tongue out and you went and like jumped in the mouth and like smacked like the inside of her mouth, right? Pack everything. Packing good. That doesn't like, that just looks like I'm saying pacing good. Packing good. Packing great. Very pack. Very pack. Bosses. Let me think about bosses real quick. Volcano boss sucked. That was maybe not so much the boss's fault, though. What are your feelings on the bosses, Mr. T? Oh, we didn't do the mini games at all. Aren't the mini games just like what's it called? Oh no, I didn't want to do this. Where's the how can I get back to the arcade? Spooky. What is happening here? Oh, can you like, even though you're like at the beginning of the game, you can't like bare basics? Pack Village. Let's see. I think it's just like a bunch of arcade games, right? Something. Yellow. Yellow and packed. Packed and yellow. What do we got? I mean, you could play Pac-Man. I mean, I don't know. They're kind of different games. Like, I understand they're in here. There is, like, the Pac-Man inspired mode. I didn't, like, particularly care to play it, though. Pac-Man inspired. Here's the Pac-Man game we're playing. Pac-Man inspired mode. There's a sentence for you. Ooh. What do we find up here? Nothing, but I like that this is here. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a little mixed on the bosses myself. Oh, there we go. Unfortunately, this ceiling is pretty tight, so we can't escape, but I would have loved it if we were able to escape, though. Different gimmicks. This might say how I feel about the bosses, but maybe I should go back and like look at the bosses real quick. I don't really remember them very well. Because the first one, that's like the blade. I don't know. Maybe actually, I don't want to walk through all this. I don't know. Like the bosses seem fine to me. I didn't like. All right. Apparently, if you just leave Pac-Man there, eventually he decides he's gonna go live on the other side of the world. Or like use the warp. That's kind of interesting that the warp is on a timer rather than like when you move away and come back. All right, enough of that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna veto the boss thing, Alex. I'm sorry. I just can't think of like too many things about the bosses that really jumped out at me, and it seems like Mr. T doesn't really have that push either. And maybe I'm just like biased and like I didn't really like care for the majority of the fights. I don't know. Like none of them really stood out to me, and the only one that stood out to me was the volcano one, which was very bad. But it's like not even that the fight was bad, it was just like how they communicate things to you is not great. Like a lot of visual stuff. I won't get into that right now. So I think the music's pretty good though. I think I agree with you on the like not amazing, but like I think pretty solid OST. Like I can get behind that. Pretty solid soundtrack. Let me see. They want to sell pack, very pack in yellow. All right. Do we want to think about the arcade games in here? I mean, they are part of the game. I'll be honest with you, I don't really care that much. But if you guys think that's like a good value, yeah, there's like... Okay, here's a question. Are they like actually good versions of those games, or are they like kind of chunky, right? Like, no, please. Return to Pac Village. Sorry, you guys aren't seeing that right now. Like, are they actually good versions of those games? Because I feel like this era, I mean, they're so simple, it probably doesn't really matter that much. And it's not like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not like I'm gonna be able to look at it and go like, that's not how Pac-Man runs. Like, I don't know how Pac-Man runs. So... Secret mazes and levels, yeah. Oh my god, so many tokens. Pac-Man World 2. Okay, that's the, what's it called? Pac Attack? Look, I know what Pac-Man's like. It is the arcade version, I believe, so I think that's like a bonus. This looks like the arcade version to me. I'm not up and up on Pac. There's actually some, and maybe this is like part of the original game, there's like some weird sprite to the right of Pac-Man. I don't know if you guys can see that. It like barely flashes in. It's not important. I just thought I would note it. Yeah, okay. We'll put these on that list. I'm a little more mixed about this, and I think, you know, I will say this. 2004 was definitely, or 2005 or whatever, was definitely a very different time when it came to these collections in a lot of ways. I mean, there's Namco Museum and stuff, but I think it was probably a bit more like novel when that happened back then, kind of thing. I feel like these days you can get Pac-Man in 30 billion different ways. But it's like the nice thing that it's packed into another game, right? It's like, yeah, it's cool that it's not just like all like sold piecemeal or something like that. I'm gonna basically, what are we saying here? Are we just saying like, what are we saying about this? Are we just like saying bonus arcade games, or are we saying like a diversity of arcade games, or a variety, or what with that? Unless you, like Mr. T, when you say replay value with arcade games, you mean like collecting tokens and things like that. It's definitely a collectathon. A little more of a collectathon than I would like, but good replay value. I mean, is it replay value if we're playing different games in the game, right? Yes. Like, is it actually offering replay value, or is it just good that the content's there? Because, like, I would get the impression it's just good that the content's there. I don't know if this specifically, like, unless we're talking about the tokens itself, right? And how you're getting tokens to unlock these things. I would say that's replay value, because you're replaying the levels of the game and stuff like that. Where, like, just saying this arcade collection, I mean, it is something you can do, and yeah, you would be replaying them because they're arcade games in a lot of ways. But I just... Okay, so you provides incentive to collect things. Okay, so we're looking at that. We're not talking about the arcade games themselves. We're talking about the process of getting the arcade games. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, and I think that makes a lot more sense on this list. Does that sound reasonable, Alex? Does that sound like maybe something that falls in line with what you'd want on here? Let me type something out. Collectibles for replay value. Something like that. Yeah? Okay, cool. That's probably gonna be too long, but it's alright. Very Pac-Man, very yellow. I like that. Alright. I think that's reasonable. Let me fix my text there real quick. A lot of variety. I think that works. All right, cool. The good. Save changes. Bad. What do you guys not like about... I'm in the good list again. Pac World. Pac-Man World 2. Finicky camera. Volcano. Gold Pac-Man. I feel like this era in particular, like, if I was a kid when I played this game, I would probably roll my eyes at the Super Saiyan Pac-Man thing. Like, now I think it's just, like, funny and weird, but back then, like, I remember playing Rogue Galaxy, and, like, Rogue Galaxy, the main character, going Super Saiyan. I'm like, oh, come on, man. Like, please, not this. Volcano's bad. Repetitive bosses. I'm gonna leave neutral on the bosses. I don't think they were mostly like the replayability, like the design of them. I think were different enough. I get what you're saying about repetitive bosses, but I think to play a balance between you and Alex here, I think we're just gonna negate that boss aspect, because I think I'm indifferent. Alex likes them, and then I think you said that, like, they're repetitive, so no Pac-Man. Yeah. Depth perception. Depth perception. What's their problems with depth perception? I'm trying to remember. Most of the platforming issues I had. I forgot if I said hi, Joshua. Hey, how you doing, Joshua? How's it going? How you feeling, Joshua? We're reviewing Pac-Man World 2. If you've ever played this game, want to give some feedback, or if did you watch last time? I think you might have been here last time. Some platform. Yeah, I think a lot of that's still camera, though. Is that still camera? Am I right about that? I know I'm like cutting like a fine line here, but There was like the moment where I was like, I don't know where this dot is in this environment and where it exists, but that was like underwater and it really didn't matter that much. Like most of the time when I had a platforming issue, it was like suddenly something happened and I couldn't see it off screen or something like that. Or like it was like turn around and walk backwards and you just like would like fall because like you have like 3 inches of screen space to watch what's coming up basically. Too much knockback and recoil. I mean, I think the roll is like. Do you think with the roll having too much knockback and recoil that it like restricts the moveset? Like, did you want to better utilize? Did you want to better did you want it to better utilize the moveset? I feel like I'm pretty happy with the moveset here overall. Yeah, I think the depth is like, I think it's really probably camera related more than anything. I think there is probably something to be said about like depth in terms of like shadows and stuff like that, but like I don't really feel like there's a real no more than I would say any other platform from this time. I feel like I would say personally at least, but I think the camera itself for sure is like a problem, and I think to some extent that's kind of related in a lot of ways. But yeah, I think the camera's the much bigger issue on that. So. Yeah, I guess what I mean, Alex, is like, do you... To me, that just says like, hey, don't like spam this, right? It is a very fast movement move, and it makes you invulnerable for a little while, right? So I guess when you look at something like, let's say Sonic the Hedgehog, right? And how that spin dash works. And the big thing with that spin dash, I feel like, is that you are on long stretches of flat environment kind of thing, right? So it like makes sense to use that spin dash in that way and not to like worry too much about the recoil and stuff like that, where Pac-Man is more of a platformer, and so the spin dash having the bounce, I think, like, I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's fine. It is a problem. Okay. Let me roll back. It is a problem on the bosses. That was a problem on the bosses for sure. It is unpredictable. And then like you could just launch yourself to your death during the bosses. I see where you're coming from on this now. I don't think it was like, I think the big thing in platforming is just making sure you're using it in the right places. Maybe is where I was kind of like coming from with that. But there are situations specifically where they like seem to ask you to use it, and it doesn't really feel like it's gonna fit. Like the knockback screws you over in a lot of ways, in a way that does not really feel intended per se. I don't know if that was intended or not. It's hard to say, but it does feel bad in the situations where like you hit a boss and you just get like launched right off the side because of the knockback kind of thing. I kind of feel weird like singling out one specific thing so much on the bad list, but easy to maybe generally like just like that. I feel like saying this also puts it at odds with the controls though. The controls are tight, but I do feel like there's times we just like died and I'm just like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, I'm questioning us putting the tight controls thing. I mean, it is tight. It does feel good to play. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking like putting it in controls too much. It is easy to unintentionally die. I think that is like a more general issue outside of that. Let's just shorten this down to unintentional deaths. I think the snow physics were dumb in a way that I was like okay with. Like I kind of liked randomly getting launched, and like that part of the level, it like was fine. Like you were really confined, so I think it made a lot of like sense to just let you do whatever in there and just like launch yourself basically. Okay, finicky camera, volcano, unintentional deaths. I'd say some of the auto scrollers are really boring. Or maybe just like some of the level design. Maybe it's just like levels are poor level pacing. I think some of the levels just go on too long. I think they could all have been shorter. Oh, he does a flip and he just falls to his death back. And then I think Mr. T, did you say something about difficulty earlier? Are you just talking about the volcano difficulty? Yeah. Volcano is pain. All right. Anyone who's like looking, like, I don't think anyone coming here is like looking for actual review advice on this stuff. Anyone who's looking at this will have to know what Pac-Man World 2 is, but it's fine. We're just having fun here. I just see in the at least the bad section the spike in difficulty. I think he did say earlier like there's like a difficulty curve that's good, but I think it's like reasonable. I forget if I verbalized that, but like I thought it was a fine difficulty curve. I did not like when I think of something like here would be a good example. I think of a game that like does a really good job with this difficulty. Mega Man 11. That is a game that like does a lot of really cool stuff when it comes to how the player like manipulates that difficulty and it goes on. I don't really know if just like saying it has a good like a fine difficulty curve does that much. I think if it had like a more unique difficulty curve for some reason, like Super Mario Land. Like Super Mario Land is a game with a really unique difficulty curve of that it just like goes up and then flattens off in a way that when you think about the context of when it came out makes a lot of sense. When you think about it in the modern sense, it does not make as much sense. But like that is like a particular case where I think that like something really interesting is happening there. I don't really think there's a lot with that going on here specifically, but yeah, Volcano is pain. I think we can say for sure. I think that's it, right? Is there anything else? The game looks fine. I would maybe say there's maybe too many collectibles, but since that is in our replay value, like positive thing, I think I'm just gonna set that aside. I think it's just my opinion. And also being on stream, you know, makes me less interested in collecting those. So, all right. Well, unless anyone else has anything to say, I think we are over here now. Get you guys the music. How are we doing on spacing here? I think we're generally pretty good. I think the good could be moved back a little bit on that, just to give us a little extra space here. All right, so the good, the bad. I feel like we said, well, we have very packed, very yellow. So 4 stars. Okay, whoops, moving back around. Where's everyone else's score on this? How you people feeling about this game? How you people feeling about this game? Do you feel like that? You feel like that? Feel like that? I need more than just Mr. T's input here. 4 as well. Okay, got 2 4s. Anyone else? I think Joshua and Oscar had talked a little bit earlier. Either of you guys have a feeling on this? While that goes on, I'll say my feeling is probably around here. On the 2.5 range. Like, it's fine. I think that like for me specifically, moveset, very cool. Does the game utilize that moveset in a lot of ways? Maybe not. Like, I think it's fine, like, in how you utilize it. It's fun to, like, work with. But, like, I don't know if it really, like, challenges you in that many interesting ways with it. But still, you know, there are moments in the game where you do use it, so. Probably dirt cheap. I bought the Pac-Man plus Pac-Man, or Pac-Man World 2 plus Pac-Man collection for, like, I think $15 used on GameCube. There's PS2 versions, Xbox versions. sure it's pretty cheap. So. All right, so we got double fours and we got my 2.5. So, if we're going to average that out, probably just, stick it like right here, maybe on the higher side, 3.5 range. That seemed pretty reasonable there. I think that seems reasonable. All right, if you are not forced to participate in scoring either, though, so it's fine. Just wanted to make sure I get everyone's thoughts before we start doing any locking in. But I think that's probably it. I think we can lock that in probably. All right. Well, while I disappear us in the chat, I'll leave first. But if you guys have anything else you want to say. Say it now. Say it now. Say it now. Too late. We did it. 3.5. Will we ever escape the 3 range? Who can say? While we were sitting here reviewing this game, I was staring at this Pac-Man on the left here. I'm like, what is this Pac-Man doing? He's just like jabbing. He's like jabbing with like a kissy face. So. Well, that is Pac-Man World 2. Reasonable video game for me. We'll escape the 3 range at some point. I thought it was going to be Evergrace. I was just like, Evergrace is going to be the one. We'll escape it. And we ended up at like 2.5 or something like that. I was like, oh, no. So, yeah.